for Marvin is, he's one of those players that you can create in a lab and you can just install on your field any day. 6'4", way bigger than his father was 6 foot in the NFL, 205 pounds. Played at Ohio State. We know the pedigree that those Ohio State receivers with Ryan Hartline is, and for him to be that tall and able to move like that on the field is ridiculous. Being productive as well, despite having all the guys around him who are productive as well. Even Emeka Egbuka could have had an opportunity to come out this year, but decided to stay back for another year at Ohio State. So, that's just the thing with Marvin Harrison. And one thing about him, too, is every week there was a good defense that he was likely to go against, like the Iowas, Michigan, Penn State, Georgia, and he always stepped up to the challenge. Even a guy like Notre Dame, where this year we kind of saw our guy Cam Hart had his way a little bit in Benjamin Morris, but those are two drafted in NFL someday. So Marvin Harrison is battle tested as well. He's always stepped up to the challenge in the biggest moments. And with Malik Nabers, he's one of those guys where we see now where they have that ability to get yards after catch, and everybody loves yards after catch. Silky smooth wide receiver, not really tall, 6 foot, but he has that game changing ability just like Marvin, but just in a different way. You think of more like a DJ Moore type, gets the ball at yards at the catch. We see him take the 0 to 60 yards per game. And just based on situations, I think his first year with Malik Nabers, it was pretty okay. It was first time learning that offense with Jada Daniels. Then the next year, they just instantly explode. But in any other year, if Marvin Harrison wasn't in the draft, you could definitely have another argument for who will be wide receiver 1. Even Rome Odunze, who was also talented as well.
Adam?
Yeah, he mentioned Odunze at the end. I honestly think this draft is going to be historic with the receivers, because I do think these 3 top receivers are going to have really productive careers. At least one of them, maybe 2, are potential Hall of Famers, in my opinion. But I think when you look at Nabers, you think Jefferson, and then you have Marvin Harrison. That's that big receiver type. So it's really about what your team is looking for. So that's why I'm not so sure. I wouldn't be surprised if the way Arizona plays with Kyler Murray, that Nabers doesn't make more sense for them, because he's a guy that can really get you a lot of yards underneath. Going over the top is not something that always, I think, Kyler Murray loves to do. So I think one of those guys could go before. And Odunze, like I said, that's a pretty solid third option. I don't think I've seen many drafts where the third-rated receiver is this good. So, and then you keep going through the draft and you continue to see that, there's a significant drop between this talent. But I think when you get to that next tier, it's like these guys are still starters. They're still starting material wide receivers. So I think this might be the deep, we talk about offensive line and the quarterbacks, but wide receiver from round 1 to round 3, even round 4, I think is extremely deep.
So Kyle, wide receivers are already divish, whatever you want to pronounce it. That's just part of their aura. But some information came out today, which we was shared in the group chat earlier, about it might be some off-field stuff with Nabers. How do you kind of look at those reports leading up to the draft, and then tell us what you like between him and Marvin Harrison?
Well, there's some team is going to benefit from that news coming out.
Yeah, Caleb, you see that? That's what you're supposed to do, Caleb.
Yeah. Go ahead. So that's exactly right, though. But with Nabers, I almost view him more so in a way of like Antonio Brown, in the way that he's used. Like they can use him in the slot, attacking the seam route there. But with Marvin Harris, it's like a typical number 1 wide receiver. He's going to be outside. He's going to dominate he's going to be able to run all the routes, but maybe he does need refinement in separation and routes and stuff like that can be easily identified, like we saw with Cam Hart and others. But with Marvin Harrison, I think the one thing that he did not benefit from in school is the quarterback.
Right.
And that's not his fault. Like he shows you everything that he does. Like he commands everything he's supposed to as a number 1. And also he's commanding himself post the season as a number 1. I mean, if Deion Sanders came out today, this is what Deion would be doing. You know what I mean? And so Marvin Harrison Jr. is conducting himself the way he needs to be. And Nabers, I feel like Nabers is a chess piece that you can move anywhere and attack. And if you're adding him with a plethora, you can feel really good about that situation. But it's not like it's a detriment to Nabers that he had a better quarterback. Him being 6 foot, 200 pounds, he's still electric with the ball in his hands. He can do it close to the line of scrimmage. He can attack you up the zone or on the seam. He's really a special talent. Both these guys are. I think Nabers had 14 touchdowns this season. So obviously Jaden Daniels loves the combo of him and Brian Thomas.